Sky and Scroll. Sky and Scroll is really, really good.
Sky and Scroll.
Sky and Scroll.
Wait, Sky and Scroll.
In just a few months, Sky and Scroll went from being just another promising European duo to the team every pro in Fortnite was studying. They changed the way Europe played endgames. While almost every team fought for the high ground, Sky and Scroll mastered low ground so well that suddenly everyone started copying them. They dominated Europe. They won their first FNCS Grand Finals, qualified for the Esports World Cup, and entered FNCS Major 1 Summit in Dusseldorf, Germany as the favorites to win it all. In that summit, they looked unstoppable game after game. Sky and Scroll took over the lobby. Scroll was clutching impossible situations as a solo, putting together one of the greatest solo performances of the entire tournament, and going into the final game, they were ahead by over 30 points. They were just one game away from winning their first international LAN, and then everything fell apart. But just a few years earlier, Sky and Scroll were just two kids trying to make it in competitive Fortnite. Long before becoming one of the best duos in the world, Sky and Scroll were just two kids from Denmark grinding competitive Fortnite. Scroll started playing Fortnite after switching schools, where his new friends introduced him to the game. From there, he quickly became obsessed with competitive Fortnite, spending years grinding tournaments throughout Chapter 2. Sky's journey looked pretty similar. He started competing in 2020, constantly playing tournaments with different teammates, but never really finding any major success. For years, both players were just like any other pair of upcoming EU grinders. They had decent placements here and there, but nothing that really separated them from everyone else trying to make it. And ironically, the duo almost started by accident. During FNCS Major 1 in 2023, Sky's teammate went on vacation right before the final FNCS qualifier. Scroll got asked to fill in, and almost immediately something clicked. In their very first FNCS together, Sky and Scroll placed top 10 in opens and qualified to finals. And from that moment on, they never really stopped playing together. Sky and Scroll didn't become one of Europe's best overnight. For the rest of 2023, they kept grinding tournaments together, consistently making finals, and slowly proving that they could compete with some of the best teams in Europe. But they still hadn't fully broken through yet. Then finally, in September of 2023, Sky and Scroll earned their first real prize money together after placing 11th in a Duo Cash Cup finals. And just a week later, they had their first real breakout performance. Sky and Scroll placed 4th in the Duo Cash Cup finals, outplacing tier 1 pros like Hen, Pink, Snazy, and many more. As Fortnite entered the OG season, qualifying for finals became normal for Sky and Scroll, and for the first time, Sky and Scroll started looking like a duo with real potential. And heading into 2024, everything was about to change. With duos returning as the main FNCS game mode in 2024, Sky and Scroll immediately decided to stick together. In their very first Duo Cash Cup of the year, Sky and Scroll placed 9th. And as FNCS Major 1 started, they quickly showed they were no longer just another upcoming duo. And after years of grinding together, Sky and Scroll had finally qualified for their first FNCS Grand Finals. Their first FNCS Finals did not start perfectly. On day 1, they placed 43rd and looked completely out of contention. But on day 2, they bounced back, climbing up to 25th for the day and finishing 34th in their very first Grands together. It wasn't the breakout placement they were hoping for, but for the first time, Sky and Scroll had shown they could really compete with Europe's best. By FNCS Major 2, expectations around Sky and Scroll were starting to rise. They comfortably made it through opens once again, but this time, semifinals almost ended their tournament. In upper bracket, teams had to win a game to automatically qualify for grand finals. And even though Sky and Scroll were the most consistent duo in the tournament, they just couldn't get a win. Because of that, they failed to qualify through the upper bracket and got sent down to the lower bracket, where only the top 15 teams would make grand finals. And things somehow got even worse in the lower bracket. During game 1, Sky disconnected from the server, forcing Scroll to play the entire game by himself. With their entire tournament on the line, Sky and Scroll still managed to clutch up qualification, finishing 13th in the lower bracket and securing a spot in the grand finals. This time, grand finals meant much more. Only the top 5 duos in Europe would qualify for the FNCS Global Championship in Fort Worth, Texas. And on day 1, Sky and Scroll genuinely looked like they could do it. They placed 7th overall, only 2 spots away from qualifying to their first ever globals. But day 2 didn't go nearly as well. After looking like genuine global contenders on the first day of finals, Sky and Scroll couldn't keep the momentum going. And as the day went on, they slowly slipped further and further down the leaderboard. And by the end of the tournament, they had fallen to 13th overall, missing out on an FNCS Globals qualification. And for most duos, this probably would have been the point where they split apart. But Sky and Scroll stayed together. Heading into FNCS Major 3, Sky and Scroll had one final chance chance to qualify for the FNCS Global Championship. And at first, things weren't looking great. After day 1 of Grand Finals, Sky and Scroll were sitting near the bottom of the leaderboard once again. But on day 2, they brought it back when it mattered most. Sky and Scroll climbed all the way up to 9th overall, finally securing a spot at their first ever LAN and qualifying for the FNCS Global Championship. For the first time in their careers, Sky and Scroll were about to compete against the best players in the world at the FNCS Global Championship in Fort Worth, Texas. At Globals, Sky and Scroll were contested off spawn by another European duo, making their first international event even more difficult. And while they showed flashes of potential throughout the tournament, things never really fully clicked for them. Sky and Scroll finished 28th overall at their first FNCS Globals. They didn't leave Fort Worth with the result they wanted, but after years of grinding, setbacks, and coming painfully close, Sky and Scroll had finally proved they belonged on the biggest stage in Fortnite. After Globals, Sky and Scroll decided to stick together once again as Fortnite transitioned into the 2025 trio season. They started the season with Ref's Guard, immediately placing well in trio tournaments and even winning a trio cash cup together. And even though trios became the main focus, Sky and Scroll were still performing incredibly well together in duo events, even winning a duo cash cup and earning $5,000 each. But when FNCS Major 1 came around, they made a huge decision. Instead of playing with Ref's Guard, Sky and Scroll trioed with another European pro called iDrop. With iDrop, the trio got off to a strong start almost immediately. They placed second in both days of the first play-in week and quickly qualified for the FNCS Grand Finals. After day 1 of Grand Finals, the trio sat inside the top 3 and looked well on their way to qualifying for Globals. But day 2 didn't go nearly as well. The trio slowly started falling down the leaderboard, eventually finishing 9th overall, only a few spots away from qualifying to the FNCS Global Championship. And heading into Major 2, the pressure only got bigger, because this time there were 5 Globals qualification spots in Europe, giving Sky and Scroll another massive opportunity. But despite making Grand Finals once again, they finished 11th overall, missing out on a Globals qualification for the second major in a row. After missing Globals twice with iDrop, Sky and Scroll decided it was time for another change. For Major 3, they teamed up with Thomas HD, one of the best players in Europe and the recent FNCS Global runner-up. But almost immediately, things started to go wrong. The trio struggled through group stages and failed to directly qualify for Grand Finals, forcing them into the last chance qualifier. And suddenly, their entire year came down to one final tournament. But during the last chance qualifier, disaster struck. Thomas HD failed to load into multiple games, destroying the trio's hopes of qualifying for the FNCS Globals. After missing Globals for the 3rd major in a row, things started to really fall apart. For the first time since they started playing together, Sky and Scroll genuinely looked like they might split up. After missing out on Globals, Sky and Scroll entered the 2025 offseason with more uncertainty than ever before. And for the first time since they started playing together, the duo genuinely started drifting apart. Sky decided to try playing with Marius, who had just placed second at FNCS Globals only a month earlier. And at the same time, Scroll started trying out multiple different teammates himself. After years of playing together, failing to qualify for Globals had finally started to affect the duo. But despite everything, both players slowly realized the same thing. They were still at their best when they played together. And just a few weeks later, Sky and Scroll reunited as a duo once again. And almost immediately after returning, everything started changing. Sky and Scroll entered the $1 million Unreal Cup with low expectations compared to some of the biggest names in Europe. But by the end of the tournament, they had won it all, proving for the first time that they weren't just a good duo anymore, they were one of the best duos in the entire world. Later on, Scroll admitted that winning the Unreal Cup gave the duo a crazy momentum boost and finally made them believe in what they could accomplish together. And it wasn't just duos. At the start of 2026, Scroll won the solo series finals, earning $15,000 and proving that he could compete with the best players all by himself. The duo's momentum kept building. Sky and Scroll placed second in the Reload Elite Series finals, earning $10,000 and qualifying for the Esports World Cup in Paris. They placed first, second, and fifth in 3 FNCS Division 1 finals in a row, quickly becoming the duo that every other team was studying. But what truly made Sky and Scroll different from every other duo in Europe was the way they approached endgames. While almost every other top team fought for the high ground, Sky and Scroll mastered low ground so well that eventually, teams across Europe started copying their playstyle. It wasn't just the fans noticing it either. Some of the best players and coaches in the world later talked about the impact Sky and Scroll had on the meta. By the time FNCS Major 1 had started, Sky and Scroll looked absolutely unstoppable. They flew through opens and heats, quickly establishing themselves as one of the favorites to win it all. But once Grand Finals started, they took things to another level. Sky and Scroll won 2 out of the 6 games on day 1, with only 1 game outside of the top 10. And on day 2, even without winning a game, their consistency was unreal. Their worst placement of the entire day was 11th place. By the end of Grands, Sky and Scroll had officially won their first FNCS Grand Finals together. After years of grinding, heartbreak, and almost splitting apart, Sky and Scroll had finally become the best duo in Europe. Just a few months earlier, Sky and Scroll had almost split apart completely. Now, they were entering FNCS Major 1 Summit in Dusseldorf, Germany as one of the favorites to win it all. For the first time in their careers, all eyes were on them. But Summit did not start perfectly. Sky and Scroll died early in their first 2 qualifier games and immediately found themselves playing from behind. But just like they had done so many times before, they brought it back. 2 top 2 placements and a 3rd place finish later, Sky and Scroll had turned their tournament around, comfortably qualifying for finals. And once finals started, Sky and Scroll looked absolutely unstoppable. Game after game, the duo completely took over the lobby. Scroll was clutching impossible situations as a solo, they reached every endgame, and with every passing game, it felt more and more certain that Sky and Scroll were finally going to win their first LAN, a 6th place, and then a 3rd, and then a massive 9 elimination 2nd place. And by the halfway point of finals, Sky and Scroll had built a massive lead over the rest of the tournament. Sky and Scroll genuinely looked like the best duo in the world, but despite their dominant performance, the tournament still wasn't over. A rough game 5 started closing the gap between them and the teams behind them, and after another early death in game 7, their lead had been cut down to 30 points heading into the final match. One final game stood between Sky and Scroll, and the biggest win of their entire careers. And at first, everything looked perfect. They were uncontested, Battlewood Boulevard was free, the win was actually finally within reach. But while they were landing, Sky and Scroll suddenly got nervous. Instead of landing at the uncontested spot they had played all tournament, they swerved midair trying to avoid a fight they thought might happen. And instead, they landed directly on top of another duo. And within seconds, Sky and Scroll were dead. In the span of one single game, Sky and Scroll went from 1st place to 4th. Just a year earlier, Sky and Scroll were struggling to even qualify for Grand Finals. Now, they had gone from almost splitting apart completely to being 1 game away from winning one of the biggest Fortnite tournaments in the world. They didn't win Summit, but after years of grinding, failing, improving, and refusing to give up on each other, Sky and Scroll had finally proven they belonged among the very best players in the world. And if the past few years have proven anything, Sky and Scroll's story is far from over.